Avatar Fire and Ash is finally in theaters, and I was so excited to go see it. It is here! The Avatar series is my favorite ongoing movie series, and oh my gosh, it was just so nice to be back on Pandora again. This one is probably my second favorite out of the trilogy so far. The first one still takes the #1 spot for me, and that's probably because it was like the first time that we were introduced to this world, and my mind was absolutely blown, and I am hard-pressed to think of something that could top that later on in the films, but we'll see, we'll see. We still have at least 2 more to go. I am so upset that we have to wait 2 more years, 3 more years for the 4th movie, because I have so many questions, and I need them answered now. This one had a lot going on. It was 3 hours and 17 minutes, so prepare yourself if you haven't seen it. And I guess I should note right now, before I get too far into the video, there are going to be spoilers in here. So if you haven't seen it yet, I'd highly recommend coming back to this video afterwards, because I'm just going to gush over how much I loved it and go into plot that you should go experience for yourself, because it's a phenomenal movie. So yeah, 3 hours, 17 minutes, and so much happens. We meet a very important group of Na'vi that are probably going to be around for the next couple of films. I know that actress Una Chaplin, who plays Varang, the super awesome goth pyromaniac Na'vi, that's been showcased in all of the trailers and poster arts. She is signed on for both 4 and 5. So I'm curious to see how we're going to move forward with her and her group of raiders. We also lost a lot of people in this film, from both like the Na'vi and evil human side. I think it's kind of reasonable to have gone into this expecting that there would be some casualties, but there were a couple that I was like, oh my gosh, no. We were dropping Ikran or the Banshees like crazy. I think like in the opening section of the movie with the Wind Traders, we lose like 3 or 4 Ikran, and it's like, holy shit. And of course it's absolutely terrible, just like the rest of the deaths from the Na'vi side. And this one, the Soli family is still dealing with the grief of Neteyam, and that is actually a huge underlying part in this one. Both Neytiri and Jake are not doing too hot. Neytiri, I was really afraid that they were gonna do her wrong in this one. At the beginning, she's very like closed off and very like angry and full of hate, and I absolutely get it. She just lost her son, but my god, her character growth in this one, holy shit, that woman is a powerhouse. She's just so fucking incredible. I love her so much. She is 1000% one of my favorite female characters in cinema, period. I do not care. She is phenomenal. There's a scene where she gets almost shot through the heart, and it's her lashing her arm to her Ikran and flying her way back to the resistance camp. That way they can patch her up, so then she can fly back out to go find her children, while she again has this wound that almost killed her. And she just keeps having moments like that where you're just like, damn chick, you are a beast. And it's over and over and over again. She is phenomenal. She single-handedly takes on the RDA base, which is huge at this point. It looks like a city because they take Jake in, because naturally they would, and it's only her. She goes in solo and she just does it. At the same time, we have like Spider on the inside as well. That plays a part in it. And then another guy, Dr. Garvin, the marine biologist, he's like, I didn't come here to do this. I'm gonna help Jake escape. So Dr. Garvin and Jake are literally running out, and Jake's like, so what's the plan? And Dr. Garvin's like, this is all I got so far. And Jake literally says, so there's no plan. It's only Neytiri. And I'm like, that right there is a plan in itself, because she is so fucking capable and does it. She pulls it off, and she's probably like, no, I like a plan, so I'm not single-handedly coming in here to save asses and carry 3 people out of here on my Ikran. But holy shit, she is just a force to be reckoned with. This movie is still very close to the second one. There's no several year gap like between the first and second one. And Ronal has to give birth at the end, because of course we have to have the birthing scene right in the middle of the super climactic final battle. And Neytiri is literally like, you are not dying yet. You're going to have this child, and I'm going to protect you while I am helping you give birth. And it's just, holy shit, it was just so cool. Women being powerful. I loved it. And then of course she proceeds to protect this newborn baby for the rest of the final battle, and you're just like, what the fuck? She is just She is a powerhouse. I could make this entire video about how much I love Neytiri, but I'm not going to because I know that you'll probably want to hear just a little bit more about the movie than just Neytiri, but oh my god, I love her so much. On top of her just being an absolute beast, her character growth in itself is also phenomenal. Like I mentioned earlier before I just went off on a fangirl tirade, just her moving from like grief and anger to acceptance, and then I'm going to protect my family with everything that I have, and without ever losing her faith as well, because this movie definitely deals with faith and are we going to hang on to it? Are we going to forsake Awa because of all of the misfortune that's happening to us? And not just with like the Soli family, but that is basically the driving force for why Varang is the way she is. Also met with catastrophe and then just decided to go full-fledged anarchist, pyromaniac, and not gonna lie, she's also a fucking force to be reckoned with, and it was scary as shit. That scene where she's introduced, she is just brutal as fuck. She, like when they get to the forest floor, she immediately starts like bonding with like the victims, so like the connects the braids with the victims, and then proceeds to like force her will over them, which if you think about it, every time we've seen this bonding in the past, it's this mutual thing of trust and respect for one another. So it's always been this peaceful thing between the Na'vi people and the species around them. So when she just starts haphazardly like bonding with the Na'vi and proceeds to slice off their Kuru, I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? And she does it over and over and over again, and it visibly shakes like everyone. They're just so fucking horrified. The kids are separated from Jake and Neytiri for like the billionth time in the series at the beginning of the movie, and Loak is kind of taking point, and he has a chance to shoot her, but he's so shaken from watching this happen to another one of the victims that he's just locks up and can't do it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you, because again, it's supposed to be this peaceful thing, and she just does it over and over and over to like multiple Na'vi, and they're in like excruciating pain because they've never felt this thing before. And like, oh my gosh, I was so horrified and disgusted. It was terrible. The kids are the kids. I still feel a little bit bad for Tuk because she's just kind of used as this tool, like, okay, we're gonna take Tuk now and we have to go save her. That's kind of all she's really used for at this point. Loak is Loak. He still can't follow orders, but he is growing a little bit. Again, everyone in this film is going through grief and hitting this huge growth point in their characters. Like, everyone, except for Tuk, which she's just a child at this point. But he does prove his worth with the Metkaina, and therefore Jake, who just always perpetually seems to have an issue with Loak because he's the problem child, quote unquote, by bringing in the Tulkun, which help in the final battle. And then Spider. There was a huge focus on Spider in this one, which I absolutely love because Spider's just such a fucking great character. I love that he is an absolute dork and goofball when he's with the other kids, but he's also so fucking smart as well. If you think about it, this human is having to try 5 times as hard in everything that the Na'vi don't really have to try in just to survive. Like breathing air, up until a certain point in this film, will get him killed. If he's not strong enough, he will get killed by just about anything that the Na'vi probably could just swat aside, not really think about. He can't run as fast, he can't climb as fast, he's just at a huge disadvantage overall. So while he is this absolute goofball, he does have to be so smart and sharp on his feet, which shows at several points in this film. There were periods where the kids kind of took a second to kick into gear. Spider was the first one to be like, come on, come on, come on, let's go, or we need to do this right now. And then everyone jumped into gear. There was a delay in the kids' responses, whereas Spider was like, we gotta move now. And can I just say, I'm so excited that the Spider and Curie ship has started sailing. It makes me very, very happy, and I want to see them together, and it was such a sweet little scene, a sweet little moment, and that was all I needed. I'm also very excited that he can now breathe air. Not as excited as he was, but it's also interesting to see that he also grew a Kuru. I wasn't sure how I felt about that, just because it was such a foreign concept. They're all on the Na'vi, the neural tails, if you will, the braids. That to see it on a human being was like, whoa, what? Which also brings in another element of, if the humans get this, then the Na'vi are extra fucked. So like, on top of unobtainium, the serum that they're getting from the Tulkun, we now have Spider being able to breathe and adapt to the planet. Like, if the RDA can synthesize something similar to that the humans can use on the planet, then they're done. which I do believe they now have the research for, so they can start figuring that out. I'm not happy about it. None of the Na'vi were happy about it, which led to one of the scenes that freaked me out the most in this film. Oh my god. I admittedly started crying when Jake started taking Spider into the forest. And I was like, I swear to God, if you do this right now, I actually don't know how I'm gonna be able to move forward with this movie. We didn't do it. It was a growth point for all three parties involved in that scene, but my heart was pounding so hard. It was like, surely they aren't gonna do this. Surely they're not. And yet I was still crying and like, please, please do not. There's already too much loss and grief right now. Do not add Spider onto the pile. It was just terrible. It was just terrible. Jake made some really questionable decisions in this film. That was one of them. One of the peak moments for me. Like mentioned before, everyone's dealing with grief. He's clearly not handling it well, and he is a military guy who doesn't like to talk about his feelings, which just adds fuel to the fire of making wrong decisions. And then Quaritch, I'm very curious to see how we move forward with Quaritch. They're leaning more into like the theme of him kind of feeling like he's Spider's father and then kind of not. That played a huge hand in a couple of scenes between him and Jake, which ended in like a stalemate. We didn't see a body, so I'm not 1000% convinced he's dead. Until I see the body, I'm not going to be convinced, because we saw the body in one and he's still back, so I don't trust it. And then of course there's Kiri. She had the one thing that threw me off big time in this first second until it clicked into place what was going on, and that's her Kuru, the braid, started moving around like it was sentient on its own. When you see the Na'vi connecting with the Ikran or the Tulkun, they're actually having to reach back and move the braid themselves, but hers, literally, there's a scene at the end where it kind of rears up like a snake, like a cobra, preparing to strike, and it was like, what is going on? Until it's like, okay, this is the embodiment of Awa. This is what's happening right now, and that's why it has this whole weird autonomy that none of the other ones have. It did throw me off, much like what happened with Varang. She fled afterwards. Clearly, since she's face to face with this deity that she's forsaken all this time, but we have started to get answers as to what's going on with Kiri. Again, curious to see how we're going to develop her in the future. This one has a lot of setting up for 4 and 5. Right off the bat, and it made me nervous, was the voiceover. The narration was different. It's no longer Jake, it's Loak. And I read somewhere a year ago or something, I need to go find the article, where it was James Cameron saying that he wanted to see a couple of things happen in this series, at least in these first 5 movies, was that Loak would take over and Jake would eventually die. So Loak is already starting to take on the mantle, which honestly, I understand why that would eventually happen, but I'm really scared for Neytiri. Again, I love her. Another one of the things that was mentioned in that article was that he really wanted Neytiri to see the planet Earth. I do not want her to go there. This woman has been like destroyed enough and still keeps moving forward. Let's not do that. Let's not do that at all. Please don't do that to her. And then there's my biggest complaints, and I use the word complaint loosely, which is they reused a lot from 1 and shoehorned in a bit of the final battle in 2 into this one. So the way that the ending played out with Jake becoming Taruk Maktau again, and then calling on all of the tribes, even down to like the beginning of the battle, and Awa sending in like a second wave of animals to help win the battle. It was just very beat per beat how it played out in the end of the first one. But it played out in Metkaina Reef, so naturally we had to add in we have to board a ship to go get our daughters and leave. It felt a little bit lazy. I still went with it because I'm a huge fucking fan of this series and I was willing to turn a little bit of a blind eye to it, but even down to a couple of lines felt very much copy paste from the first one. Whenever Jake is telling the Betkaina and Amatikaya in this one to ride out and go call upon the clans to join in this battle, that one was almost word for word the ending of the speech that he gave in the first movie. And there were a couple of other phrases in there too that were like, I've heard this before. That sounds like this scene in 1. But again, I'm willing to overlook it because I'm a huge frickin' fan. Overall, it was still really solid. I have so many questions just because of the way it's being set up. I want them to be free. I want Pandora to be free from the evil humans. I want them to leave so badly, but I don't know at this point how they're going to be free, because when we kicked out Selfridge in the first one, he was replaced with General Ardmore. Well, now Selfridge is back on Pandora with General Ardmore, but now General Ardmore is dead. So that means Selfridge is in charge, but they also mentioned that there was a chairman who's been giving all of the orders. So in order for things to wrap up and have the humans leave, which I just don't see how that's going to happen, that means that the chairman's probably going to have to get unalived, and I don't know if they're going to try bringing him to Pandora or what. I don't know. That's just one of the many, 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 many questions I have. And they do have 2 movies to wrap things up, but I just right now can't see how that's going to happen. There's also the other part to this too, where James Cameron said that he wanted to be here through the 5th movie, but he's open to giving the franchise to someone else to do like a 6th and 7th movie. Those haven't been confirmed, but that means that maybe the humans could be back for a 6th and 7th one. I'm personally open to seeing a completely and totally different conflict on Pandora and Pandora alone. Totally be down for that, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot of I don't know, and I hate that. Give us the 4th movie now. Be finished with it now. It was such a good film. I cried too much. It made me smile. It just was so freaking cool, and I love it every time I get to go back to Pandora. That's it. So if you have seen this one already, I know it's opening weekends, please comment, because we need to talk. We need to talk. I need to scream with more people about this and how phenomenal it is, or just like trade theories or whatever. Comment below. I need to talk about this more. It's just too good. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.